Whipple Family Misadventures Book 1. Welcome to the Parents of an Alien Hedgehog Club, Chapter 11. Staring out the front windshield, Wade was starting to wonder if he should go back inside or stay out here, when to his surprise, he saw movement out of the corner of his eye. Shadow crawled over up in between the two seats and settled himself in the passenger seat.
You feel better?
The hedgehog shrugged. Although he did look better, he wasn't shaking or gasping anymore. It was a difficult choice. Wade wanted to ask more questions to try and figure out what had caused this, but he also didn't want to push him, especially after such a vulnerable and painful moment. It seemed an impossible tightrope walk. Get enough information to help it, but without making it worse.
Shadow, I want to talk more about what just happened, so I can help you in the future. Is that okay? You can say no if you want, but I really do want to understand so I can help.
Those red eyes looked downtrodden and slightly confused, but he nodded slightly.
Has this happened before?
Yes.
Wade frowned, thinking. It almost felt like this was a game of 20 questions, except the at the end answer might be horrifying.
Do you know why?
Yes.
Shadow's voice became choked as he squeezed his eyes shut.
Because I hate scientists and I hate labs. I am not going back into one for something dumb.
There was no way to keep the absolute shock from what he was hearing out of his voice.
Sci-Islam?
I'm not.
This time, there was aggression behind his words, the readiness to fight if he needed to over this decision.
I'm not.
Wade held up one hand.
Okay. I believe you, but these scientists, is one of them the person you want me to find for you?
Shadow quickly nodded. He considered that for a moment.
Did any of them ever hurt you?
Wade asked, feeling the full weight of his words, painful as they were, deeply hoping the answer was no.
Or force you to do something you didn't want to do?
Shadow looked away.
Sometimes. They did give me pain meds, and sometimes when it got really bad. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Wade forced himself to take a slow, deep breath to remain calm.
That's okay.
He said, even though it was the opposite of how he felt.
Do you honestly want to go back to him? Honestly?
I have to.
He seemed to curl in on himself, as if struggling with this piece of information.
I don't want to, but he said I have to. For my purpose.
Why?
Shadow was silent again, and then slid down in the seat as a person walked by the car. He waited until they were gone before he sat up again.
Because I'm going to be the ultimate life form. The professor told me that it's important, and that all the stuff I did, like the shots, tests, and experiments, would be worth it.
The ultimate life form. I've never heard of that. Is that something on your planet?
What planet?
Okay.
Wade was lost and mentally took a step back and took a moment to gather his thoughts before he spoke again.
So this person is human, this professor. You're absolutely sure of that?
Yes. He didn't have fur or a tail, but he did have fur on his face.
He made a motion as if he was stroking a long mustache that extended off of his muzzle.
And he was tall. All humans are tall.
Wade decided that he would correct him on that point later.
And he sometimes did medical stuff that you didn't like, but it was to make you an ultimate life form?
Shadow nodded again.
Yes, he's a professor. He said it was necessary. He also said I would do battle training soon because that's also important. Because he said I'm so strong, agile, and have good reflexes.
The casual way this kid said that made Wade grimace, and then he carefully schooled his features into one of concern. While all of that was correct, it did not sound like it had been framed in a positive way. It sounded like this professor had another motive and was using him for something.
I see. I was just wondering. I haven't found him yet, but when I do, I'll let you know.
That talk only made Wade want to find this guy even more, most likely because he wanted him to answer for what he had done, to explain it in more detail. and so he could find out where this guy lived and let the precinct there know to arrest him. Not that he would tell Shadow that. It also made him seriously doubt that he was going to give Shadow to him.
Can we just go back to your house?
Shadow mumbled, leaning against the car door. His body language screamed tired. Little wonder after getting into a fight and then having a panic attack less than an hour later.
Not without Silver. But if you want to stay in the car while I go get him, that's fine.
Maddie was waiting for him when he came back into her office, looking very professional in her scrubs.
Where's your other one?
In the car.
Wade explained, reaching down to ruffle Silver's ears.
He's feeling really fragile right now, so I decided not to push him.
After their talk in the car, Wade was seriously doubting he would be able to convince Shadow to come in to do this. But it could wait and they could always try again later.
Is Shadow okay?
He will be.
Wade answered and then looked back at Maddie.
Everything good here?
Yep, although there is one little thing first. I didn't see anything, but just to be safe.
She got up and walked toward the front waiting room and looked at a wall of products before she selected one and offered it to him. Taking it, Wade silently read the name off the bottle. Flea shampoo. He grimaced.
Are you sure?
Better to be safe than sorry. Welcome to having kids with fur.
She said with a knowing look and offered him a metal grooming comb as well.
Great.
Silver hovered up so he could see what Wade was holding and peered at it curiously.
What is it?
It's a special shampoo we might have to use.
Oh,
Maddie's posture suddenly changed, almost coming to attention.
Is that him?
She asked, pointing out the window. Following her gaze, Wade realized that Shadow was still in the front seat of his car and was visible from this angle. The dark hedgehog's eyes were closed, and it made Wade glad to see that he looked relaxed enough that he might have fallen asleep.
Yeah, that's Shadow.
Oh, good. Tom and I were starting to worry the kids made him up, saying this is the first time either him or I have seen him.
I would never do that, but he's also very timid. I'm honestly not sure if I'll be able to get him to come in and do this.
Wade said as he quickly paid for the shampoo and the comb.
He really should, especially if he gets sick or injured.
I know. We'll try again later. Thanks again. Tell Tom and Sonic we said hi. Come on, Silver.
Will do.
Maddie said as they walked out. As soon as they got home, Wade set his recent purchases down and wondered if attempting to introduce the concept of a flea shower was worth it tonight, or if it should wait until tomorrow. He was tired and it wasn't even dinner time yet. Speaking of dinner,
I hope you guys are okay with pizza because I don't feel like cooking tonight.
Wade said. He put on a movie for the two of them, then settled back at his desk, tucked at the rear end of the living room, and searched for his parenting books, especially the one about children who had dealt with neglect and abuse before. Shadow had said not a word since they left the clinic, and while he was no longer glaring, he still looked upset. He was much calmer now, no longer looking like he was in a fight or flight situation, but that didn't mean he was all right. That was the problem with trauma. It could easily hide. Maybe one of those books would give Wade a clue on how to fix this. Even if Shadow wasn't staying here, the situation was quickly becoming a raw, painful wound. Even if Wade could only bandage it, it would be better than pretending it never happened, or trying to push it down constantly. That poor kid needed help.
hey Wade,
Startled, Wade glanced down to see Silver next to him.
what are you doing? Can I see?
The hedgehog sighed eagerly.
Just reading some books.
Indulgently, Wade showed him the chapter he had opened, even though he knew Silver couldn't read it.
That's all.
He had assumed that would be enough to satisfy the gray hedgehog's interest and send him on his way. But Silver didn't move, just stared up at him.
Do you need something?
Can I sit with you?
Okay.
Gently, he lifted him up so that the hedgehog was sitting on his knee, and then went back to his book.
Hey Wade,
Yes?
I really like being here, like living here.
I like having you here too.
If I keep staying here with you, does that make you my dad?
Wade's stomach dropped and he coughed twice to try and hide the surprise at that, and how blunt that was. How much that one sentence terrified him.
Well, I don't know.
He said his first instinct was to try and change the topic as fast as he could, so he didn't have to answer the question. But then again, that would only be putting it off for a short time.
I'm kinda new to this as well. Do you want me to?
He got several eager nods.
Yes.
All right then.
Wade reached out and ruffling the fur on top of Silver's head before he absolutely slammed into a hug. The wildest part was it didn't feel so awkward this time around. Very gently, he held Silver against his chest and just realized he was a dad now. This wasn't just a kid that happened to be in his life. This was his kid, his son. He had an alien hedgehog son. And while that was terrifying and crazy, it also felt right. The nagging fear in the back of his mind was still there that he was going to mess this up, be like his own father or even worse. But instead of listening to it or letting it control him, he just pushed it down and decided instead he would do better. There was no reason for him to make his own father's mistakes. He could do this.
You know what that means? If you're my kid, it means you're gonna be here forever. And if you want, you could be Silver Whipple now. But only if you want to. Just know I've never done this before either. I don't fully know what I'm doing as well. It's going to be a learning process for us both.
Letting go, Silver just beamed up at him, joy radiating out of him.
Okay, Dad.
That one word, and Wade couldn't speak anymore. Overwhelmed by emotions, Wade just smiled back at him.
Can I have some juice?
Unable to say anything, Wade just nodded and gently set him back down on the floor, without seeming to realize Wade's entire world had come crashing to a halt. Silver just headed in the kitchen, completely oblivious. Wade just watched him go, barely believing how much everything had changed in such a short period of time. And yet, he didn't miss his old life. It had been boring, safe, predictable. This was far more exciting, and while it was scary, it was also really nice. He liked having another person around, and while it was mind-numbingly terrifying at times, he liked it a lot more than he thought he would.
You can't be his dad.
Wade had nearly jumped as he completely forgotten about Shadow for a moment and turned to see the darker hedgehog peering over the edge of the couch, having been watching the entire thing.
Why not?
You're a human and he's a hedgehog.
So?
You are too different.
Well, families are more than just sharing genetics with each other or not. He lives with me now, and I'm going to take care of him. That sounds like enough for a family to me.
Wade said. It was strange having to defend a decision made literally seconds ago. But the more he said it out loud, the more he meant it.
Besides, there aren't any adult hedgehogs on Earth, as far as we know. So it's either he's an orphan or he has a human parent. And I think having a human parent is better than none.
Is it allowed?
Allowed? Allowed according to you.
Shadow didn't say anything. His expression slowly changed to one that was troubled, then confused. Slowly, he just turned back to continue watching the movie.